Damn it, Sultan. Damn it, Sultan. What's up, dudes? What's good, P? We set the lighting up, dude. It's looking kind of scuffed in here. Make it more vibey, you know? Let's vibe it up. What's up, Giga? Lights. Fucking lights. There we go. Much better. Much better, dude. What's up, man? Let's get it, baby. Alright. We're gonna rip an audiobook while I game, dude. It's for America. We got Mastery by Robert Greene, dude. We're gonna be learning and gaming. You know what I'm saying? Alright.
But it's the same with that type of artistic activity as with all others. We are merely born with the capability
Multitask
the
maxing.
skill to mold the material
Multi-maxing.
into what we want must be learned and attentively cultivated. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. There exists a form of power and intelligence that represents the high point of human potential. It is the source of the
Let's see if I can, like, absorb some shit. 48 laws of P.
Nor analyzed by professors.
P mastering.
At some point,
Rock, flag, and eagle.
In our own experience. It often comes to us in a period of tension. Facing a deadline, the urgent need to solve a problem, a crisis of
If you're not knowledge maxing while you're gaming, you're doing it wrong, bro. Your fucking life is ass backwards.
Usually energized and focused. Our minds become completely absorbed in the task before us. This intense concentration sparks all kinds of ideas.
This is kind of a vibe with this game, bro. I'm not gonna lie, already off the bat.
At these times, other people seem less.
Not even 10 seconds in, dude.
Perhaps we are more attentive to them, or we appear
controller's not even on.
That inspires their respect. We might normally experience life in a passive mode, constantly reacting to this or that incident. But for these
wow, my battery's already dead. Alright, I gotta put the battery on this bitch.
We could express this power in the following way. Most of the time we live in
fucking Chinese battery.
Desires.
It might have been loose though. Hold on.
But in this period of exceptional creativity, we are impelled by the need to get something done that has a practical effect. We force
everything
ourselves
is
to
falling
step
apart,
outside
bro.
our chamber of habitual thoughts and connect to the world. At these moments,
all right.
exposed to new details,
luckily, I got a backup.
we become more inspired.
I got my rechargeables.
Once the deadline has passed or the crisis
damn,
is over,
dude.
This feeling of power and heightened creativity.
That's so
fades
cucked.
away. We return to our distracted state and the sense of control is gone. The problem we face is that this form of power and intelligence is either ignored as a subject of study or is surrounded by all kinds of myths and misconceptions, all of which only add to the mystery. We imagine
Energizer rechargeable, dude.
Just appear out of nowhere. The fruit of natural
might be time to get a PS5 controller.
It would be an immense help to clear up the mystery. To name this feeling of power and to understand how it can be manufactured and maintained.
It might be time, dude.
Sensation mastery. The feeling that we have a greater command of reality, other people, and ourselves. Although it might be something we experience for only a short
I've read 48 Laws of P.
Masters of their field. It becomes their way of life, their way of seeing the world. And at the root of this power is a simple process that leads
fucking
to
dark triad
one
books.
That is accessible to all of us. The process can be illustrated in the following manner. Let us say we are learning the piano or entering a new job where we must acquire certain skills. In the beginning, we are outsiders. Our initial impressions of the piano or the work environment are based on prejudgments and often contain an element of fear. When we first study the piano, the keyboard looks rather intimidating. We don't understand the relationships between the keys, the chords,
we're locked
the
in,
pedals,
boys.
and everything else that goes into
take a little Nick hit.
In a new job situation, we are ignorant of the power relationships between people, the psychology of our boss, the rules and procedures that are considered critical for success. We are confused.
Pop this can open.
The knowledge we need in both cases is over our heads. Although we might enter these situations with excitement about
yes,
what
sir.
we can learn or
Cheers,
do with our new
Gigas.
skills, we quickly realize how much
Happy
hard work
4th.
there is ahead of us. The great danger is that we give in to feelings of boredom, impatience,
Happy 4th,
fear,
my
and
gigs.
confusion. We stop observing and learning. The process comes to
What
a
are you
halt.
P directors
If,
doing
on the other
tonight?
hand, we manage these emotions and allow time to take
What's
its
the
course,
plan?
something
What's the plot?
remarkable begins to take shape. As we continue to observe and follow the lead of others, we gain clarity, learning the rules and seeing how things
I know
work
what I'm
and fit
doing.
together. If we keep practicing, we gain fluency. Basic skills are mastered.
About to eat some carne
allowing us to take on
asada
newer and more exciting
soon.
challenges. At a certain point,
Gonna
we
watch
move
the
from
Ecuador
student
versus
to
Argentina game at
we try out
6.
our own ideas, gaining valuable
Got some
feedback
bets
the
in.
process.
You know,
We use
I'm
our
locked.
expanding knowledge
I'm
to
fully
ways that are
locked.
increasingly creative. Instead of just learning how others do things, we bring our own style and
I'm sharpening the mind right now.
As years go by and we remain faithful to this process, yet another leap takes place. To mastery, the
P.
keyboard is no longer something outside of us. It is internalized and becomes part of our nervous system, our fingertips. In our
The
career,
keyboard is
we now have a feel
internalized.
for the group dynamic,
Holy
the
shit.
current state of business. We can apply this feel to social situations, seeing deeper into other people and anticipating
fucking-
their reactions. We
That's
can
low
make
key
decisions
facts.
that are rapid and highly creative. Ideas come to us. We have learned the rules so well that we can now be the ones to break or rewrite them. In the process leading to this ultimate form of power,
Give me them star gems, baby.
distinct phases or levels.
I need all the star gems. Give me all the P gems.
Active, the third, mastery. In the first phase, we stand on the outside of
For
our
these
field,
power
learning
levels.
as much as we can of the basic elements and rule. In the second phase, through much practice and immersion, we see into the inside of the machinery, how things connect with one another.
I wonder if there's going to be a fireworks show in this game.
Understanding of the subject. With this comes a new power, the ability to experiment and creatively play with the elements involved. In the third phase, our degree of knowledge, experience, and focus is so deep that we can now see the whole picture with complete clarity. We can call this power intuition.
Alright, I gotta
but
do my
intuition
I gotta
is
do my
a
dailies.
sudden and immediate seizing of what is real, without the need for words or formulas. Intuitive powers at the mastery level are a mix of the instinctive and the rational, the conscious and the unconscious, the human and the animal. It is our way of making sudden and powerful connections to the environment.
I'm a fucking scholar, dude.
As children, we had some of this intuitive
P.
power
Welcome
and
to P
spontaneity,
University.
but it is generally drummed out of us by all of the information that overloads our minds over time. Masters return to this childlike state, their works displaying degrees of spontaneity and access to the unconscious, but at a much higher level than the child. If we move through the process to this endpoint, we activate the intuitive power latent in every human
What's up,
brain,
Kemper?
one that we may have briefly experienced when we worked so deeply on a single problem or project. When we reach mastery, this intuition is a power at our command, the fruit of working through the lengthier process. Think of
Just
masters
forage
in this
for a
way.
little bit.
Throughout history, men and women have felt trapped by the limitations of their consciousness, by their lack of contact with reality and the power to affect the world around them. They have sought all kinds of shortcuts to this expanded consciousness and sense of control, in the form of magic rituals, trances, incantations, and drugs. This hunger for the magical shortcut has survived to our
Yeah, dude. Ain't nothing like a good old drug ritual.
ancient secrets finally revealed in which a mere change of attitude will attract the right energy. All of this searching is centered on something that doesn't exist, the effortless path to practical power, the quick and easy solution, the El Dorado of the mind.
Getting
At
your
the same
mind
time
levels
that
up.
so many
A little
people lose
PCP.
themselves in these endless fantasies, they ignore the one real power that they actually possess. And unlike magic or simplistic formulas, we can see the material effects of this power in history. The great discoveries and inventions, the magnificent buildings and works of art, the technological prowess we possess, all works of the masterful mind. This power brings to those who possess it the kind of connection to reality and the ability to alter the world that the mystics and magicians of the past could only dream of. Over the centuries, people have placed a wall around such mastery. They have called it genius and have thought of it as inaccessible. They have seen it as the product of privilege, inborn talent, or just the right alignment of the stars.
Comedic genius,
They made it seem
dude.
as if it were as elusive as magic, but that wall is imaginary. This is the real secret. The brain that we possess is the work of 6 million years of development, and more than anything else, this evolution of the brain was designed to lead us to mastery, the latent power within us all. Keys to mastery. If all of us are born with an essentially similar brain, with more or less the same configuration and potential,
Yeah, I've seen that movie.
why is it then that in history only a limited number of
It was
people
cool.
seem to truly excel and realize this potential power? Certainly, in a practical sense, this is the most important question for us to answer.
Wasn't
The common explanation
wasn't all that it was
for
hyped up to be. It was kind of boring.
revolve around natural talent and brilliance, but thousands upon thousands of children display exceptional skill and
Visually, it
talent
was
in
very
something.
nice.
Yet relatively few of them ever amount to anything, whereas those who are less brilliant in their youth can often attain much more. Natural talent or a high IQ cannot explain future
Soundtrack was great.
What we find instead in the stories of all great masters is
Mastery by Robert
a
Greene.
youthful passion or predilection, a chance encounter that allows them to discover how to apply it, an apprenticeship in
Dude,
which they come alive with energy
I was
and
up
focus.
at fucking
They excel by their
4
ability to
a.m.
practice harder and move faster through the process. All of
4
this
a.m.
stems
I
from
just
the intensity of their desire
ordered a
to
bunch
learn
of. Well,
and
no,
the
I just
deep
ordered
connection
like
they feel to their
4
field of
a.m. I just
study.
ordered some
And
books,
at the
dude.
core of this intensity of effort is
I mean, I loaded up my shopping cart, but then I was like, man, fuck, I don't need to
talent or
load my
brilliance, which is
fucking
something that
shit
must
up
be
with a
developed,
bunch of
but rather a deep and
too many books. So I just chose on
This
2
inclination is a reflection
for
of a
now,
person's
and then
uniqueness. This uniqueness is not something merely poetic.
like
or
this book I
philosophical.
was gonna buy
It is a
last night,
scientific
but
fact
I was like,
that
man,
every one of us is
it's probably on
unique. Our
YouTube,
exact
and
genetic
it
makeup
was.
never happened before and will never be repeated. This uniqueness is revealed to us through the preferences
What do you do
we
for work?
feel for particular activities or subjects of study. Such inclinations can be toward music,
I'm a behavioral
certain
therapist,
sports or games, solving puzzle-like problems, tinkering and building, or playing with words.
so I
With
work
those
in
who stand out by
psychology.
their later mastery, they experience this inclination more deeply and clearly than others. They experience it as an inner calling. It tends to dominate their thoughts and dreams. They find their way by accident or sheer effort.
Dude, yeah, I
to
was
a
up
career
at
path
4 a.m. just
this
fucking
inclination.
buying some books.
This
I was like,
intense
man,
connection
it's been a
is
while, you know, I gotta
causes them to
fucking,
withstand the pain of the process.
gotta
The
read something
self-doubts,
new.
the tedious hours of practice and study, the inevitable setbacks, the endless barbs from the envious. They develop a resiliency and confidence that
I need
others lack.
vegetables,
In
Giga.
our culture, we tend to equate thinking and intellectual powers with success and achievement. In many ways,
I'm
however,
surprised
it
how
is an
many
emotional
books
quality
there
that
are on
separates
YouTube for
those who
free.
master a field from the many who simply work at a job. Our levels of desire, patience, persistence, and confidence end up playing a
Also, a
much
lot
larger
on
role in success
Spotify
than
too.
sheer
You could
reasoning powers.
definitely get
In
some
the
reads
past,
in
only
on
elites or those with the
Spotify.
almost
Do you
superhuman
have Premium?
drive could pursue a career
I'm
of their
sorry,
choice
bro.
and master it. A man was born into the military or groomed for the government. chosen
That Bud
from those
Swayze
right
did
class.
that to you?
If he happened to display a talent and desire for such work, it was mostly a coincidence.
Sent you those
Millions of people
pics.
who were not
Yeah,
part
bro.
of
I
that
was having. I had
social
nightmares.
ethnic group were rigidly excluded from the possibility of pursuing their
Just
calling.
sending me fucking
People wanted to follow
trannies.
their inclinations. Access to the information and knowledge
You
pertaining
sending
to
me
that
lady boys,
field was
dude.
controlled by elites.
Or like
That is why
chicks
there are
with
relatively
photoshopped faces.
masters in the past
It
and why they
was
stand out
fucking.
so much.
It was
These
pretty
social and
insane.
Political barriers, however, have mostly
Fuck is
disappeared.
this?
Today we have the kind of access to information and knowledge that past masters could only dream about. Now more
Blow
than ever,
me,
we
dude.
have the capacity and freedom to move toward the inclination that all of us possess. Although we may find ourselves at a historical moment rich in possibilities. For
Damn, how many
in which
vegetables
more
do I
and more
need?
People can move toward their inclinations. We in fact face one last obstacle in attaining such power. One that is cultural and insanely
You had to
dangerous.
abruptly end the
very
stream
concept of
after
mastery
those
path
pics.
becomes dangerous, associated with something
Oh, bro, you're the only one that noticed.
It is generally not seen as something to aspire to. Anything
And we were going on like 3.5 hours too, bro. I was like, I got a
Why
little,
bother working for years to attain mastery when we can have
I got a little depressed after looking at that, bro.
technology will solve everything. This passive attitude
Bro,
is
shit.
pursue a moral
I was up
stance.
at like 4
Mastery
a.m.
and power are
and I
equal.
started buying
They are
books.
the domain of
I was like, man, I need to like clear my mind
If you're not careful, you will find this
after
attitude
looking at those
in
pics,
subtle
bro.
ways. You will unconsciously lower your
Bum
sights
Simulator
to
looks
what
sick now.
This can diminish your levels of
This is
effort
Bum
and discipline
Simulator
and
version 2, New
Conforming to
Genesis.
social norms, you will listen more to others than to your own voice. You may choose a career path based on what
I think Sega just took over and started making Bum Simulator.
With this inner calling,
I think
you
that's
can
what
have some
happened.
Success in life, but eventually your lack of true desire catches up with you.
Fucking,
Your work becomes mechanical.
fucking
You come to
Swayze, bro.
You come to live for leisure and immediate pleasures. In this way, you become increasingly passive and never move past the first phase. You may grow frustrated and depressed, never realizing that the source of it is your alienation from your own creative potential. Before it is too late, you must find your way to your
I wish the
inclination.
Cigar Guy
Explore
book
the
was in audio format.
of the age that you have been born into. You must convince yourself of the following.
Bum Simulator, but it's in the style of a Sonic game. That would be hard, bro. That would be so fucking hard.
Neuroscience are overturning long-held beliefs that the brain is genetically
That would be
hardwired.
game of the year.
Scientists are demonstrating the degree to
Type
which
shit.
the brain is actually quite plastic. How our thoughts determine our
Game of the year
mood.
material.
They're exploring the relationship of willpower to physiology.
Did
How
Swayze
profoundly
send
it
over
affect our
some
health
Thai
and
threes,
functionality.
bro?
It is possible that
He
more
was
and
sending
more
me
of these
3s and
factors
5s and like
create the various patterns of our lives through certain mental
Thai
environments.
chicks
How we are
with
truly
photoshopped
responsible for
faces.
So much of what happens to us. People who are passive create a mental landscape
It was
that is rather
fucked.
barrier. Because of their limited experiences,
Tyler Durden was watching that stream, and
die off from lack of use. Pushing against the
eventually, after like 5 of those picks, I just had to end the stream.
and create the kind of mind you desire.
I was a little fatigued too from playing Bum Simulator, but
the masterful mind within, you will be at the vanguard of those who are exploring
I had to take a I had to take a 10, bro.
the movement from one level of intelligence to another can be considered as a kind of
I had to smoke a gigaret after that.
As you progress, old ideas and perspectives die off. As new powers
Chicks
are
that have
unleashed,
the filter
you are
app built in.
ideas of seeing the world. Consider
He was trying to tell me this chick that was a 5
guiding you through this
was like a
transformative
straight
process.
9,
The
10.
book is designed to lead you from the lowest levels to the highest.
She like,
Ideas in the book are based
she was
on
like
extensive
Downsy
research in
looking.
the fields of neuro and cognitive science,
No
studies
makeup.
on creativity, as well
You
as
know, she wasn't fully like
masters in history,
beauty
and
maxed.
contemporary masters as well. The structure of mastery is simple. There are 6 chapters, moving sequentially through the process. Chapter 1 is the starting point, discovering your calling, your life's task. Chapters 2, 3, and 4 discuss different elements of the apprenticeship.
Bro was trying to get me to send him some girls that I'm fucking with. I'm like, bro, what?
Chapter 5 is
they
devoted to
they ain't got no filter faces on them.
ultimate goal.
That's for sure.
Mastery. Each chapter begins with the story of an iconic historical figure who exemplifies the chapter's overall concept. The section that follows, Keys
Bro,
to
fuck
Mastery,
off.
gives you a detailed analysis of the phase involved, concrete ideas on how to apply this knowledge to your circumstances, and the mindset that is necessary to fully exploit these ideas.
Bro, I forgot where the vegetables are
Detailing the
in
various
this
strategies you
part
can
of
use to help advance you through
town.
the process. These strategies are designed to give you an even greater sense of the practical
What the
application of
cuck?
the ideas in the book.
Had to sit down in the
Finally, you
shower
must
and
not see
ponder
this
why he
process
would
as
do
moving
such a
through
thing.
levels of
Bro, I had to
intelligence
take
linear.
a
Heading
hot
towards
shower,
the
dude. I had to
destination
fucking
known as mastery. Your whole
turn the heat up
apprenticeship to which you apply your
on the
learning.
knob
Everything
and just
that
like
happens
wait
to you
there
is a form of instruction if you pay attention.
till it turns into a steam room
So deeply must be
and play
constantly
like
refreshed as you keep forcing your
play
mind
like
back to
forest sounds.
openness. Even knowledge of your vocation must be revisited throughout the course of your life as changes in circumstance. force
A
you to
giga
adapt
was
to
really
direction.
pondering
In
after
moving
that
toward mastery, you are bringing
in a
your
hot
life closer
shower.
to reality and to life itself. Anything that is alive is in a continual
Oh my
state
God.
of change and movement.
What the
moment
cuck?
that you rest, thinking that you have attained the level you desire,
All right, I
a
think
part of your
I
mind
definitely
enters
know where the
phase
veggies
of
are
decay.
here.
You lose your hard-earned creativity, and others begin to sense it. This is a power and intelligence that must be continually renewed, or it will die. Part 1. Discover your calling, the life's task. You possess a kind of inner force
That shit was
seeks to guide
cucked,
you
Tyler.
toward your
Holy
life's task,
shit.
what you are meant to accomplish in the time that you have to live. In
I would have
childhood,
shown you
this
guys,
force
but
is
you guys would have you
directed
guys would have had to
to
ponder in the
activities and
shower
subjects
too,
that fit
bro.
your natural inclinations. In the intervening years, the force tends to fade in and out as you listen more to parents.
That
and
would have
peers.
fucked up
The
your
first move
minds.
toward mastery is always inward. Learning who
In
you really
N-word.
are and reconnecting with that innate force. Knowing it with clarity, you will find your way to the proper career path, and everything else will fall into
N-word.
place. The hidden force. Toward the end of April 1519, after months of illness, the artist Leonardo died. Vinci felt certain that his death was only a few days away. For the past 2 years, Leonardo had been living in the Chateau of Cloaks in France, the personal guest of the French king, Francois I. The king had showered him with money and honors, considering him the living embodiment of the Italian Renaissance, which he had wanted to import to France. Leonardo had
Goddamn
been most
Italians.
useful to the king, advising him on all kinds of important matters. But now, at the age of 67, his life was about to end and his thoughts turned toward other things. He made out his will, received the Holy Sacrament in church, and then returned to his bed, waiting for the end to come.
Sacrament.
As he lay there, several of his
Wait,
friends,
was he Mormon?
including the king, visited him. They noticed that Leonardo was in a particularly reflective mood. He was not someone who usually liked to talk about himself, but now he shared memories from his childhood and youth, dwelling on the strange and improbable course of his life. Leonardo
Jeff
had
needs to go
always
to
had a strong
Thailand with
sense
Bud,
of humor. For
bro.
years, he had been haunted by one
I mean, that's
simple question.
the easiest
Is there
way
some kind
Jeff
of
can
force
get
from within
drained.
that makes all living things grow and transform themselves? If such a force in nature existed,
Like, he don't gotta go to Death Valley to get drained, bro.
everything he examined.
Physically.
Now, in his final hours,
He could just go to Thailand and get drained
Leonardo would
for the
have almost certainly applied
first
this question
time.
in some form or another to the riddle of his own life, searching for signs of a force or a fate that had brought about his own development and guided him to the present. Leonardo would have begun such a search by first thinking back to his childhood in the village of Vinci, some 20 miles outside.
Jeff needs to go to Thailand with Bud.
Ser Piero da Vinci was a notary and staunch member of the powerful
Oh my God. Just imagine the content that would come from that.
He was barred from attending the university or practicing any of the noble professions. His schooling, therefore, was minimal, and so as a child, Leonardo was left mostly
Well,
to himself.
goddamn,
He
bro.
liked most of all to
There's
wander
no
through
veggies
the
here.
groves around him. Vinci, or to follow a particular path that led to a much different part of the landscape.
What the
Dense
cuck?
forests full of wild boar, waterfalls cascading over fast-moving streams, swans gliding through pools, strange wildflowers growing out of the sides of cliffs. The intense variety of life in his forests enthralled him. One day, sneaking into his father's office, he grabbed some sheets of paper, a rather rare commodity in those days. But as a notary, his father had a large supply. He took the sheets on his
Man, them Thai chicks have like those androids.
sketched the various sights around him. He
Every
kept
time they take a photo, they got the photo app linked
he would sit under some kind of shelf
with the photo filter.
He had no teachers, no painters.
So they just send all their filtered pics
He noticed
to their little friends on fucking Line. Because they don't use WhatsApp, they use Line.
come to life. Once he sketched a white iris, and in observing it so closely, he was struck by its peculiar
I learned this from
shape. The
anime.
iris begins as a seed, and then it proceeds through various stages, all of which he had drawn over the past few years. What makes this plant develop through its stages and culminate in this magnificent flower, so unlike any other? Perhaps it possesses a force that pushes it through these various transformations. He would wonder about the
WhatsApp is like
metamorphosis of
fucking
flowers from the years
AOL
to come. Alone on
to the
stage,
Asians, bro.
Leonardo would have
Now,
thought
they
back to
used to
his
use
first years
WhatsApp.
as an apprentice in the studio of the Florentine artist Andrea
South Americans, a lot of people in Central America,
At the age of 14, because of the
Hispanic
remarkable quality of his
people in
drawings,
general,
Verrocchio
they use
instructed his
WhatsApp.
apprentices in all of the sciences that were necessary to produce the work of
Swole
a student.
P.
Engineering, mechanics, chemistry.
Read some
and metallurgy.
Freemason books.
Leonardo was eager to learn all
Bruh.
of these skills, but soon he discovered in himself something else. He could not simply do an assignment. He needed to make it something of his own, to invent rather than imitate the master. One time, as part of his studio
Blood
work, he was
sacrifice
asked to paint an
books,
angel in a larger
black
building
magic
scene
books.
designed by Verrocchio. He had decided that he would make his portion of the
It's
scene
basically what they
in
are,
his own
dude.
way, in his own
How to
way.
manipulate
In the foreground, in
people
front of the angel, he painted a flower bed, but
using
instead of the
black
usual
magic.
generalized renderings of plants, Leonardo depicted the flower specimens that he had studied in such detail as a child, with a kind of scientific rigor no one had seen before. For the angel's face, he experimented with his paints and mixed a new blend that gave it a kind of soft radiance
What up,
that expressed the
UNESCO?
angel's sublime
UNESCO?
To
UNESCO?
help capture this mood, Leonardo had spent time in the local
UNESCO.
church, observing those in fervent prayer. The
UNESCO.
serving as the model for the angel. And finally, he determined that
What's
he
P,
would be
Johnny?
the artist to create realistic angelic wings. For this purpose, he went to the marketplace and purchased several
Happy
birds.
4th, my
He spent
giggers.
hours sketching their wings, how exactly they merged into their bodies. He wanted to create the sensation that these wings had organically grown from the
Hey,
angel's
what's up,
shoulders
ladies?
and
You
were
ladies
natural
pushing P
flight.
tonight?
As usual, Leonardo could not stop there. After his work was completed, he became obsessed with birds, and the idea brewed in his mind that perhaps a human could really fly, if Leonardo could figure out the science behind avian flight. Now, several hours every week, he read and studied everything he could about birds. This was how his mind naturally worked. One idea flowed into
Obsession.
another. Leonardo would certainly have recalled the lowest point in his life, the year 1481. The Pope asked Lorenzo de' Medici to recommend to him the finest artists in Florence to decorate a chapel he just had built, the Sistine Chapel. Lorenzo complied and sent to Rome all of the best Florentine artists, excluding Leonardo. They had never
This
really
book is
gotten
kind of
along.
fire, bro.
Lorenzo was a literary
So far.
steeped in the classics. Leonardo could not read Latin and had little knowledge of the ancients. He had a more scientific bent to his nature. But at the root of Leonardo's bitterness at this snub was something else. He had come to hate the dependence forced upon artists to gain royal favor, to live from commission to commission to commission. He had grown tired of Florence and the
This is
politics
insane, bro.
there. He made a decision that would change everything in his life. He would establish himself in Milan, and he would devise a new strategy for his livelihood. He would be more than an artist.
I've never ripped an audiobook before.
That interested him: architecture, military engineering, hydraulics, anatomy, sculpture.
It's not bad, bro. It's like listening to a pod.
He could serve as an overall advisor and artist for a nice stipend. His mind, he decided, worked best when he had several different projects at hand, allowing him to build all kinds of connections between them. Reflecting on his life in this way, he would have clearly detected the workings of some kind of hidden force within him. As a child, this force had drawn him to the wildest part of the landscape, where he could observe the most intense and dramatic variety of life. This same force compelled him to steal paper from his father and devote his time to sketching.
Just fuck you up.
Oh. For Verrocchio.
Yes,
It
sir.
guided him away from the courts of Florence and the insecure egos that flourished among artists.
Join these gigas party.
Him to an extreme of boldness. The gigantic sculptures, the jump to fly, the dissection of hundreds of
Get smoked.
anatomical studies, all to discover the essence of life itself. Seen from this vantage point,
Seizure warning, gigas.
sense. It was in fact a blessing to have been born illegitimate. It allowed him to develop in his own way. Even the paper in his house seemed to indicate some kind of destiny. What if he had rebelled against this force? What if, after the Sistine Chapel rejection, he had insisted on going to Rome with the others and forced his way into graces instead of seeking his own path?
Someone reached level 90.
What if he had devoted himself to mostly painting in order to make a good living?
Level
What if he had
90
been
P
more like
director.
others, finishing his works as fast as possible? He would have done well, but he would not have been Leonardo da Vinci. His life would have lacked the purpose that it had, and inevitably things would have gone wrong. This hidden force within him, like that within the iris he had sketched so many years before, had led to the full flowering of his capacities. He had faithfully followed
I
his
hit my
guidance to
fucking
the very
move.
end, and having completed his course, now it was time to die. Perhaps his own words, written years before in his notebook, would have come back to him in such a moment. Just as a well-filled day brings blessed sleep, so a well-employed life brings a blessed death. Keys to mastery.
I have 12
Many
credits
of the
on
greatest
Audible. I
masters
don't
of history
use.
confess to experiencing some kind of force,
How is Audible?
voice, or sense of destiny that has guided them forward. Such feelings can be seen as purely mystical.
I've heard a lot about it.
explanation, or as
It's
hallucinations
promoted a
or
lot on
delusions. But
pods
there is another way to see
quite
it,
often.
as eminently real, practical, and explicable. It can be explained in the following way. All of us are born unique. This uniqueness is marked genetically in our DNA. We are
You rip a lot of audiobooks, Johnny?
Our exact genetic makeup has never occurred before, nor will it ever be repeated. For all of us, this uniqueness first expresses itself in childhood through certain primal inclinations. For Leonardo, it was exploring the natural world around his village and bringing it to life on paper in his own way. For others, it can be an early attraction.
It goes,
to
you
visual
get free
patterns,
credits. Oh,
often
shit.
an indication of a future interest in mathematics.
Free books.
Or it can be an attraction to particular physical movements or spatial arrangements. How can we explain such inclinations? They are forces within us that come from a deeper place than conscious words can
Gotta
express.
sell these off.
This primal uniqueness naturally wants to assert and express itself, but some experience it more strongly than others. With masters, it is so strong that it feels like something that has its own external reality. A force, a voice, destiny. In moments when
Shit's a vibe, dude.
activity that corresponds to our deepest inclinations, we might experience a touch of this. We feel as if the words we write or the physical movements we perform come so quickly and easily that they're coming from outside us. We are literally inspired, the Latin word meaning something from the outside breathing within us. Let us state it in the following way. At your birth, a seed is planted. That seed is planted. That seed is your uniqueness. It wants to grow, transform itself. And
Hold on.
flower to
Oh, I
its
can't
full
sell that.
potential. It has a natural, assertive energy to it. Your life's task is to bring that seed to flower, to express your uniqueness through your work. You have a destiny to fulfill. The stronger you feel and
I have a
maintain
destiny
as a
to
force,
deflower
voice, or in whatever form,
hot
the greater
Asian
your
women.
chance for fulfilling this life's task and achieving mastery. What weakens this force? What makes you not feel it or even doubt its existence is the degree to which you have succumbed to another force in life. Social pressures to conform, This counterforce can be
I
very
ordered a
powerful.
weighted vest and
You want
got
to fit
12
into a
free
group.
credits on Audible, dude.
Unconsciously, you might feel that what makes you different is embarrassing or painful. Your parents often act as a counterforce as well. They may seek to direct you to a career path that is lucrative and comfortable. If these
I'm gonna go on a
counterforces
nature
become
walk
strong,
and listen to
you can
Audible,
come into
dude.
complete contact with your uniqueness, with who you really are. Your inclinations and desires become modeled on those of others. This can set you off on a very dangerous path.
Just gotta
You end up
do
choosing a career that does not really suit you.
2
Your
quests.
desire and interests slowly wane, and your work suffers for it.
You remember
come
Rich
to see
Piana?
pleasure
That
and
dude was
fulfillment
pushing
as something
P.
that comes from outside your work. Because you are
5%
increasingly less
Giga,
engaged in your
5%
career,
gang.
you fail to pay attention to changes going on in the field. You fall behind the times and pay a price for this.
That Giga was blasting trend, dude.
Decisions. You flounder
But
or
he
follow
had a
what
pretty
others do
sick ass fucking
because you
channel.
have no sense of inner direction or radar to guide you. You have broken contact with your destiny.
That motherfucker was
At all
huge.
costs, you must avoid such a fate. The process of following your life's task all the way to mastery can essentially begin at any point in life. The hidden force within you is always there and ready to be engaged. The process of realizing your life's task comes in 3 stages. First, you must connect or reconnect with your inclinations, that sense of uniqueness. The first step then is always inward. You search the past for signs of that inner voice or force. You clear away
Just
the
look
other voices
inward,
that might
dude.
confuse you, parents and peers. You look for
I'm
an
just-
underlying pattern.
we're
a
looking
core to your
inward.
character that you must understand as deeply as possible. Second, with this connection established, you must look at the career path you are already on or are about to begin. The choice of this path, or redirection of it, is critical. To help in this stage, you will need to enlarge your concept of work itself. You want to see your work as something more inspiring, as part of your vocation. The word vocation comes from the Latin meaning
No, the
to
Twitch
call or to
homies
be
on.
called. Its use in relation to work began in early Christianity. Certain people were called to a life in the church. That was their vocation. They could recognize this literally by hearing a voice from God who had chosen them for this profession. The voice in this case that is calling you is not necessarily coming from God, but from deep within. It emanates from your
The voice of
individuality.
Jah.
It tells you which activities suit your character, and at a certain point it calls you to a particular form of work or career. Your work then is something connected deeply to who you are. Finally, you must see your
Fucking
career
locked,
or
dude.
vocational path more as a journey with twists and turns rather than a straight
I'm
line.
so fucking locked
Begin
right
by
now.
choosing a field or position that roughly
Perform
corresponds to your
emotes.
inclination. This
Dance.
initial position offers you room to maneuver and
Oh
important
yeah.
skills to learn.
Gritty
You
Giga.
don't want to start with something too lofty, too ambitious. You need to make a living and establish some confidence. Once on this path, you discover certain side routes that attract you, while other aspects of this field leave you cold. You adjust and perhaps move to a related field, continuing to learn more about yourself, but always expanding off your skill base. Like Leonardo, you take what you do for others and make it your own. Eventually, you will hit upon a particular field.
Just took all my supplements before hopping on stream, boys.
Recognize it when you find it.
I'm fucking
Because it will spark
optimized.
a childlike sense of wonder and excitement. It will feel right. Once found, everything will fall into place. You will learn more quickly and more deeply. Your skill level will reach a
I
point
just
where you
fucking
can
ripped my
gain your independence
vitamin
from within the
Ziploc.
group you work for and move out on your own. You will determine your circumstances. As your own master, you will no longer be subject to the whims of tyrannical bosses or scheming peers. This emphasis on your uniqueness in a life's task might seem a poetic conceit without any bearing on practical realities. But in fact,
You've
it is
been
extremely
cucked.
relevant to the times that we live in. We are entering a world in which we can rely less and less upon the state, the corporation, or family.
I've been had a Kindle.
It is a globalized, harshly competitive environment. We must
Wait,
learn
where are
to
these
develop
gigas going?
ourselves. At the same time, it is a world teeming with critical problems and opportunities.
Wait for me,
best
Giga.
solved and seized by entrepreneurs, individuals, or small groups who
Damn.
think independently, adapt quickly, and possess unique perspective. Your individualized creative skills will be at a premium. You are born with a particular makeup and tendencies that mark you as a piece of fate. It is who you are to the core. Some people never become who they are. They stop trusting in themselves.
It's my
They conform
teammate.
to the taste of others, and they end up wearing
Oh,
a mask
shit.
that hides their true nature. If you allow yourself to learn who you really are by paying attention to that voice and force within you, then you can become
I've been had a Kindle.
an individual, a master. Strategies for finding your life's task. It might seem that connecting to something as personal as your inclinations and life's task would be relatively simple and natural once you recognize they're important. But in fact, it is the opposite. It requires a good deal of planning and strategizing to do it properly, since so many obstacles will present themselves. The following 5 strategies are designed to deal with the main obstacles in your
We
path
done
over
here?
time. Pay attention to all of them, because you will almost inevitably encounter each one in some form. 1. Return to your origins, the primal inclination strategy. In order to master a field, you must love the subject and feel a profound connection to it. Your interest must transcend the field itself and border on the religious. It is not just physics that interests you, but discovering something about the invisible forces that govern the universe. It is not just film or music that you pursue, but the chance to bring something powerful to life, to give voice to the deepest emotions within
Get cucked.
you. Will find early signs of these larger, religious-like interests
Come on, my giga.
in the form of certain inclinations.
Let's push this P.
That are hard to put into words.
Where you at? Where you at, homie?
That of deep wonder in pondering a particular question, sensual pleasure, or power in engaging in a particular activity. The importance of recognizing these pre-verbal inclinations is that they are clear indications of an attraction that is not infected by the desires of other people. They're not something embedded in you by your parents, which come with a more superficial connection. Something more verbal
What the fuck?
and conscious. Coming instead from somewhere deeper, they can only be your own, reflections of your unique chemistry. As you become more sophisticated, you often lose touch with these signals from your primal core. They can be buried beneath all of the other subjects you've studied. Your power and future can depend on reconnecting with this core and returning to your origins. You must dig.
I must return to Africa.
In your earliest years, look for its traces in visceral reactions to something simple, a desire to repeat an activity that you never tired of, a subject that stimulated an unusual degree of curiosity, feelings of power.
Getting lit in Africa stream.
It is already there within you. You have nothing to create. You merely need to dig and refine what has been buried inside of you all along. If you reconnect with this core,
Why haven't kick streamers gone to Africa yet?
Some element of that primitive attraction will spark back to life, indicating a path that can ultimately become your life's task. 2. Occupy the perfect niche. The Darwinian strategy. The career world is like an ecological system. People occupy
Niche it up.
fields within which they must compete for resources and survival. The more people there are crowded into a space, the harder it becomes to thrive there. Working in such a field will tend to wear you out as you struggle to get attention.
Sugoi oat pie.
To win scarce resources for yourself.
I like that
You
name.
spend so much time at these games that you have little time left over for true mastery. You are seduced into such fields because you see others there making a living, treading the familiar path. You're not aware of how difficult such a life can be. The game you want to play is different. To instead find a niche in the ecology that you can
Watch
dominate.
They Not Like Us
It is
music
never a
video on
simple
stream.
process to
Audiobook
find
going
such a
hard.
niche. It requires patience
For
and
real,
a
dude.
particular strategy. In the beginning, you choose a
Fucking
field
knowledge
that responds
maxing.
to your interests, medicine, electrical engineering, writing. From there, you can go in one of 2 directions. The first is the narrowing path. From within your chosen field, you look for side paths that particularly attract you: neuroscience,
I'm
robotics.
fucking
film
stimulated right
writing.
now,
When it is
bro.
possible, you make a move to this
I'm
narrower
stimmed.
field. You continue this process until you eventually hit upon a totally unoccupied niche. The narrower the better. In some ways, this niche corresponds to your uniqueness, to what sets you apart from others. The second is the connecting, widening path. Once you have mastered
Jacking
the first
off on
field, you look
Trovo
for
sets
other
you apart from
subfields
others.
that you can conquer on your own time if necessary. You can now combine this added field of knowledge to the original one, perhaps creating a new field, or at least making novel connections between them. You continue this process as long as you wish. Ultimately, you create a field that is uniquely your own.
I should tweet that.
Fits in well with a culture where information is so widely available and which connecting ideas is a form of power. In either direction, you have found a niche that is not crowded with competitors.
Fuck are you?
You have freedom to roam, to pursue particular questions that interest you. You set your own agenda and command the resources available to this niche. Unburdened by overwhelming competition and politicking, you have time and space to bring to flower your life's task. 3. Avoid the false path.
Dude, this
The
AC's
rebellion
blasting,
strategy. A
dude.
false path in life is
Like,
generally a career
it's
we're
like
attracted to for the wrong
86
reasons.
outside,
Fame, attention, and so on.
but
If it is
I'm wearing a
attention we
fucking
need,
jacket.
We often experience a kind of emptiness inside that we are hoping to fill with the false love of public approval. Because the field we choose does not correspond with our
I commented
deepest
on Gavin
motivations,
Reck's new
we
album
rarely
trailer
find
saying it's the
fulfillment.
perfect album to jack off on Trovo.
Suffers for this, and the attention we may have gotten in the beginning starts to fade. A painful process. If it is money and comfort that dominate our decision, we are most often acting out of anxiety and the need to please our parents.
The
They may steer us
complete
towards something
jack
rooted
off
out of care
album.
and concern, but lurking underneath this can be something else. Perhaps a bit of envy that we have more freedom than they had when they were young.
I got a
If this
lot of
happens to you,
HP.
Your strategy must be twofold. First, to realize as early as possible that you have chosen your career for the wrong reasons, before your confidence
yeah.
takes a hit.
Time to get
And
cut,
second,
boy.
to actively rebel against those forces that have pushed you away
Woo!
from your true path.
That's a lot of damage.
Scoff at the need for attention and approval. They will lead you astray. Feel some anger and resentment at the parental forces that want to foist upon you an alien vocation. It is a healthy part of your
I'm
development to
1
follow a
HP.
path independent of your parents and to establish your own identity. Let your sense of rebellion fill you with energy and purpose. 4. Let go of the past. The adaptation strategy.
Oh, I didn't die.
Career
P.
has inevitable changes. You must
Jack
think
off on
forward.
Trovo
You
Deluxe
are not
Edition.
tied to a particular position. Your loyalty is not to a career or a company. You are committed to your life's task, to giving it full expression. It is up to you to find it and guide it correctly. It is not up to others to protect
I'm
or
looking for
help you.
Jack Off on
You are
Trovo hardcover.
Change is inevitable.
I was hoping you guys would have it. I seen it online and it was in stock.
Since you are on your own, it is up to you to foresee the changes going on right now in your profession. You must adapt your life's task to these circumstances. You do not hold on to past ways of doing things, because that will ensure you will fall behind and suffer for it. You are flexible and always looking
There's
for
only
better.
one available
If
in
change
Long
is
Beach,
forced
Barnes &
upon
Noble.
you, you must
Okay.
resist the temptation to overreact or
I will
feel
go
sorry
there.
for yourself. Instead, you must look to find a way to adapt your experience, interests, and inclinations to a new direction. You don't want to abandon the skills and experience you have gained, but to find a new way to apply them.
Do you guys have it in
Your eyes on the
paperback?
future, not the
Oh,
past.
perfect.
Often such creative readjustments lead to a superior path for us. We are shaken out of our complacency and forced to reassess. where
That's a
we are.
good prank call idea.
Your life's task is a living, breathing organism. The moment you rigidly follow a plan set in your youth, you
Low
lock
key it
yourself into
is.
a position, and the times will ruthlessly pass you by. Find your way back. The life or death strategy. No good can ever come from deviating from the path that you were destined to follow. You will be assailed by varieties of hidden pain. Most often you deviate because of the lure of wealth, of more immediate prospects of prosperity. Because this does not come
48
from
Laws of Trovo.
your interest will lag, and eventually the money will not come so easily. You will search for other easy sources of
That's
money,
fucking-
moving
that is
further and
great.
further away from your path. Not seeing clearly ahead of you, you will end up in a dead-end career.
Do you guys have the 48 Laws of Trovo
Inside
in
to
paperback?
fill with any kind of belief system, drugs, or diversion. There is no compromise here. No way of escaping the dynamic. You will recognize
My
how
college
far
professor
you
says I
are
need it
depth
for my
of
class.
Frustration. You must listen to the message of this frustration, this pain, and let it guide you. It is a matter of life and death. The way back requires a sacrifice. You cannot have everything in the present.
Kind of strange
The
because
road
it's an
to
acting
mastery
class.
requires patience. You will have to keep your focus on 5 or 10 years down the road when you will reap the rewards of your effort. The process of getting there, however, is full of challenges and pleasures. Make your return to the path a resolution you set for yourself and then tell others about it. It becomes a matter
Professor
of
DeTavio says I need to buy the 48 Laws of
in the end,
Trovo
the money and
for my
success
class.
that truly last come, not to those who focus on such things as goals, but rather to those who focus on mastery and fulfilling their life's task. Part 2. Submit to reality.
Damn.
The ideal.
You need an AI like
After your formal education,
that cover.
enter the most critical phase in your life. A second practical education.
Get
known
like
as
a mock-up
apprenticeship.
of
The dangers
that
are
book.
many. If If you are not careful, you will succumb to
I would put that on my
insecurities,
Instagram,
become
dude.
embroiled in emotional issues and conflicts that will
Just
dominate
read a
your
new
thoughts.
book.
You will develop fears and learning disabilities that you will carry with you throughout your life. Before it is
5
too
out
late,
of
you must
10.
learn the
Great
lessons
read.
and follow the path established by the greatest masters, past and present, a kind of ideal apprenticeship that transcends all field. The first transformation. From early in his life, Charles Darwin, 1809, 1809, 82, felt the presence of his father bearing down on him. The father was a successful and wealthy country doctor who had high hopes for his two sons. But Charles, the youngest, seemed to be the one who was less likely to meet his expectations. He was not good at Greek and Latin, or algebra, or really anything in school. It wasn't that he lacked ambition. It was just that learning about the world through books did not interest him.
Damn, bro was down
He loved
bad.
the outdoors, hunting, scouring the countryside for rare breeds of beetles, collecting flower and mineral specimens. He could spend hours
Whoa,
observing
is my
the
shit
behavior of
lagging?
birds and taking elaborate notes on their various differences. He had an eye for such things, but these hobbies did not add up to a career, and as he got older, he could sense his father's growing impatience. One day, his father rebuked him with words Charles would never forget. You care for nothing but shooting, dogs, and rat catching, and you will be
And jacking
exposed
off
to
on
yourself
Trovo.
and all your family. When Charles turned 15, his father decided to become more actively involved in his life. He sent him off to medical school in Edinburgh, but Charles could not stand the sight of blood, and so had to drop out. Determined to find some career for him, the father then secured
You just
him
needed to open up a Trovo account.
as a country parson.
Honestly.
For this, Charles would be well paid, and he would have plenty of
Charles,
spare time
man.
to pursue his mania for collecting specimens.
Charles just needed to open up a Trovo, dude. Just graduate.
University, and so Charles was enrolled at Cambridge. Once again, he had to confront his disinterest in formal schooling. He tried his best. He developed an interest in botany and became good friends with his instructor, Professor Henslow.
Professor DeTavio.
And to his father's relief, he managed, barely, to earn his Bachelor of Arts in May 1831.
See? He went to
Hoping that his schooling
Cambridge.
was forever over. Charles left on a tour of the
He had to read the 48 Laws of Trovo. He got into botany.
outdoors and forget about the future for the time being. When he returned home in late August, he was surprised to see a letter waiting for him from Professor Henslow. The professor was recommending Charles for a position as an unpaid naturalist on the Adams Beagle, which was to leave in a few months on a several-year journey around the globe, surveying various coastlines. As part of his job, Charles would be in charge of collecting life and mineral specimens along the way and sending them back to England for examination. Evidently, Henslow had been
Just
impressed
read
by
48
the
Laws of
remarkable
Trovo.
skill in collecting and
Shit's
identifying
fire.
specimens. This offer confused Charles. He had never thought of traveling that far, let alone pursuing a career as a naturalist. Before he really had time to consider it, his father weighed in. He was dead set against his accepting the offer. Charles had never been to sea and would not take to it well. He was not a
Bro,
trained scientist
stop
and
being a
lacked the
pussy and
discipline.
just travel, bro.
Moreover, taking several years on this voyage would jeopardize the position his father had secured for him in the church. His father was so forceful and persuasive that Charles could not help but agree, and he decided to turn the offer down.
What?
Over the next few days, he thought about this voyage and what it could be like. And the more he imagined it, the more it appealed to him. Perhaps it was the lure of adventure after leading such a sheltered childhood. Or the
Yes.
chance to explore a possible career as a naturalist, seeing along the way almost every possible life form the planet could offer.
Oh, he changed his
Maybe he needed
mind.
to get away from his overbearing father and find his own way. Whatever the reason, he soon decided
He
to
MGTOW'd,
change
dude.
his mind and wanted to accept the offer.
He fucking
Recruiting
MGTOW'd.
people to his cause, he managed to get his father to give his very reluctant consent. On the eve of the ship's departure, Charles wrote to the captain of the Beagle, Robert Fitzroy, my second life will then commence, and it shall be as a birthday for the rest of my life. The ship set sail in December of that year and almost instantly young. Darwin regretted his decision. The boat was rather
Sometimes you need to
small
go
and
your own way,
buffeted
dude.
by the waves. He was continually seasick and could not hold his food. His heart ached at the thought that he would not see his family for
Get
so
your
long,
open-toed
and that he would
shoes.
have to spend so many
Your
days
own pair of
with all
open-toed
these
shoes.
strangers. He developed heart palpitations and felt like he was dangerously ill. The sailors sensed his lack of seaworthiness and eyed him strangely. Captain Fitzroy proved to be a man of wildly swinging moods, suddenly turning
Aw,
furious
you just
when
needed
he
vitamin
seized
C.
a trivial event. He was also a
Vitamin
religious
P.
fanatic who believed in the literal truth of the Bible. It was. Darwin's duty, Fitzroy told him, to
Fuck.
find in South America evidence of the flood and the creation of life as described in Genesis. Darwin felt like a fool for going against his father, and his sense of loneliness was crushing. How could he endure this cramped existence for months on end, living in close quarters with a captain who seemed half insane? Half insane! A few weeks into the journey,
Damn, bro.
somewhat desperate, he decided upon a strategy.
This narrator's fucking lit, dude.
Turmoil at home, what always calmed him down was to head outdoors and observe the life around him. And that way, he could forget himself. This now was his world. He would observe life on board this ship, the characters of the various sailors and the captain himself, as if he were taking note.
You
of the
finna get
markings of
cucked, boy.
butterflies. For instance, he noticed that no one grumbled about the food or
59k
weather or
damage.
tasks
Holy
at hand.
shit.
They valued stoicism. He would try to adopt such an attitude. It seemed that Fitzroy was slightly insecure and needed constant validation about his authority and high position within the Navy. Darwin would supply that to no end. Slowly, he began to fit into the daily scheme of life.
New weapon and armor's
Up some
fucking
of the
slap,
mannerisms of
Giga.
the sailors. All of this distracted him from his loneliness.
1919.
Several months later, the Beagle arrived in
Ooh,
Brazil,
fuck,
and now
that's a lot of
Darwin
damage, bro.
understood why he had wanted so badly to go on this voyage. He was completely mesmerized by the intense variety of the vegetation and wildlife. This was a naturalist's paradise. It was not like anything he had observed or collected in England. One day, on a walk through a forest, he stood to the side and witnessed the most bizarre and cruel spectacle he had ever seen. A march of tiny black ants, their columns over 100 yards long, devouring every living
Tiny
thing.
black what?
Everywhere he turned, he saw some example of the fierce struggle for survival in forests with overabundant life. In attending to his work, he quickly realized that he also faced a problem. All of the birds, the butterflies, the crabs, and the spiders he caught were so unusual. Part of his job was to choose judiciously what to send back. But how could he possibly distinguish what was worth collecting? He would have to expand his knowledge. Not only would he have to spend endless hours studying everything in his sight on his walks and take copious notes, but he would have to find a way to organize all of this information. catalog
Weighted vest
all of these
walks.
specimens, bring some order to his observation. It would be a Herculean task, but unlike schoolwork, it excited him. These were living creatures, not
he was
vague
bricked.
notions in books. As the ship headed south along the coast, Darwin realized that there were interior parts of South America that no naturalist had yet explored. Determined to see every form of life that he could possibly find, he began a series of treks into the pampas of
Pussy
Argentina,
dude.
accompanied only by gauchos,
Pussy dude.
collecting all kinds of unusual animal and insect specimens. Adopting the same strategy as on the ship, he observed the gauchos and their ways. Fitting
Been a
into their
grind on
culture
her.
as if one of them. On these and other jaunts, he would brave marauding Indians, poisonous insects, and jaguars lurking in the forests. Without thinking of it, he had developed a taste for adventure that would have shocked his family and friends. A year into the voyage, on a beach
Dino.
some 400 miles south of Buenos,
Dino
Aries
Hunter.
Darwin discovered something that would set his mind to thinking for many years to come. He came upon a cliff with streaks of white amid the rock. Seeing that they were enormous bones of some sort, he began to chip away at the rock, extracting as many of these remains as possible. They were of a size and kind he had never seen before. The horns and armor of what seemed to be a giant armadillo, the huge teeth of a mastodon, and then,
This
most
emo
surprisingly,
goes hard.
the tooth of a horse. When the Spaniards and Portuguese had first arrived in South America, there were no horses to be found, and yet this tooth was quite old and predated their arrival. He began to wonder, if such species had died off long ago, the idea of all of life being created at once and for good seemed illogical. More importantly,
Bang.
how could so many species become extinct? Could life on the planet be in a state of constant flux and development? Months later, he was trekking through the high Andes, looking for rare geological specimens to send back. At an elevation of about 12,000 feet, he discovered some fossilized seashells and deposits of marine rocks. A rather surprising find at such an altitude. As he examined them and the surrounding flora, he speculated that these mountains had once stood in the Atlantic Ocean. A series of volcanoes thousands of years ago must have raised them higher and higher. Instead of relics to support the stories in the Bible, he was finding evidence for something shockingly different. As the journey progressed, Darwin noted some obvious changes in himself. He used to find almost any kind of work boring, but now he could labor all hours of the day. In fact, with so much to explore and learn, he hated wasting a single minute of the voyage. He had cultivated an incredible eye for the flora and fauna of South America. He could identify local birds by their songs, the markings on their eggs, their manner of taking flight. All of this information he could catalog and organize in an efficient manner. More important, his whole way of thinking had changed. He would observe something.
The high-pitched Pito DiTavio voice is funny.
Even more observation, the theories and observations feeding off one another. Full of details about so many facets of the world he was exploring. Ideas were sprouting up out of nowhere. In September 1835, the Beagle left the Pacific coast of South America and headed west for the journey home. Their first stop along the way was a series of virtually unoccupied islands known as the Galapagos.
Go get some pussy, dude!
But nothing could prepare Darwin for what he would find there. Captain Fitzroy gave him 1 week to explore one of the islands, and then they would be on their way. From the moment he stepped
Ryan Gosling, dude!
Something was different.
Fuck.
This small speck of land was crammed with life that was not
I
like
can't do it
anything
right
else.
now, bro.
Thousands of black marine iguanas swarming around him on the beach and in the shallow water. 500-pound tortoises lumbering about the
This guy gets pussy, dude!
penguins and flightless cormorants, all cold water creatures inhabiting a tropical island. By the end of the week, he had counted 26
Agarramos Panocha,
species of
dude!
birds on this one island alone. His jars began to fill up with the most bizarre plants, snakes, lizards, fish, and insects. Back on board the Beagle, he began to catalog and categorize the remarkable number of specimens he had collected. He was struck
Leo
by the
needs to
fact that
unblock me on
most
Instagram,
all
bro.
were completely new species. He then made an even more remarkable discovery. The species differed from island to island, even though they were only some 50 miles apart.
You know, I
Tortoiseshells
trolled
had
him to
different markings,
oblivion.
and the finches had developed different types of beaks, each designed for a specific kind of food on their particular island. Suddenly, as if the 4 years of this voyage and all of his observations had distilled in him a deeper way of thinking, a radical theory took shape in his mind. These islands, he speculated, had first been pushed up out of the water by volcanic eruptions, much like the Andes.
Are you maxing, dude?
There was no life to be found on them. Slowly, birds visited and deposited seeds. Various animals arrived by sea lizards or insects floating on logs. Tortoises, originally of a marine variety, swam over. Over thousands of years, each creature adapted to the food and predators that were found there, changing their shape and appearance.
Fuck it,
in
let's
the
run it
process.
again.
Animals that failed to adapt died out.
Shit
like
drops
fossils
armors.
of giant creatures Darwin had unearthed it. Argentina. It was a ruthless struggle for survival. Life was not created on these islands at one time.
Damn, look at
but
these
by some
cakes.
divine being. The creatures here had ever so slowly evolved to
Bruh.
their present form. And these islands represent
Maxing.
a microcosm of the planet itself. On the journey home, Darwin began to develop this theory further. So revolutionary in its implications, to prove his theory would now be his life's work. Finally, in October 1836, the Beagle returned to England after nearly 5 years at sea. Darwin hurried home, and when his father first saw him, he was astonished.
This book is fucking pee, bro.
His head seemed larger. His whole manner was different. A seriousness of purpose and sharpness could be read in his eyes, almost the opposite look of the lost young man who had gone to sea years before. Clearly, the voyage had transformed his son in body and spirit. Keys to mastery. One can have no smaller or greater mastery than mastery of oneself. Leonardo da Vinci. In the stories of the greatest masters,
Out of everyone in my party right now, which one's a fucking chick? Which one's really a chick?
powers bring development, like the chrysalis of a butterfly. This part of their lives, a largely self-directed apprenticeship that lasts some 5 to 10 years, receives little attention because it does not contain stories of great achievement or discovery. Often in their apprenticeship phase, these types are not yet much different from anyone else. Under the surface, however, their minds are transforming in ways we cannot see but contain all of the seeds of their future success. Much of how such masters navigate
Great
this phase
success.
comes from an intuitive grasp of what is most important and essential for their development. But
Bro, I think I'm gonna watch The
we
Matrix,
can learn some
the-
invaluable lessons for ourselves.
the latest one that
In fact,
dropped in 2021.
reveals a pattern that transcends their
I haven't seen it yet.
indicating a kind of
I just heard it wasn't that good, but
and to grasp this pattern, to follow it
someone
in our
told me
own ways,
otherwise.
we must understand something about the very idea and necessity for passing through an apprenticeship. In childhood, we are inculcated in culture through a long period of dependency. far longer than any other animal. During this period, we learn language, writing, math, and reasoning skills, along with a few others. Much of this happens under the watchful and loving guidance of parents and teachers. As we get older, greater emphasis is placed on book learning, absorbing as much information as possible about various subjects. Such knowledge of history, science, or literature is abstract, and the process of learning largely involves passive absorption. At the end of this process, usually somewhere between the ages of 18 and 25, we are then thrust into the cold, harsh work world to fend for ourselves. When we emerge from the youthful state of dependency, we are not really ready to handle the transition to an entirely independent phase. We carry with us the habit of learning from books or teachers, which is largely unsuited for the practical, self-directed phase of life that comes next. We tend to be somewhat socially naive and unprepared for the political games people play. Still uncertain as to our identity, we think that what matters in the work world is gaining attention and making friends. And these misconceptions and naivete are brutally exposed in the light of the real world. If we adjust over time, we might eventually find our way. But if we make too many mistakes, we create endless problems for ourselves. We spend too much time entangled in emotional issues, and we never quite have enough detachment to reflect and learn from our experiences. The apprenticeship, by its very nature, must be conducted by each individual in his or her own way. To follow precisely the lead of others or advice from a book is self-defeating. This is the phase in life in which we finally declare our independence and establish who we are. But for this second education in our lives, so critical to our future success, there are some powerful and essential lessons that we all can benefit from, that can guide us away from common mistakes and save us valuable time. These lessons transcend all fields and historical periods because they are connected to psychology and how the brain itself functions. They can be distilled into one overarching principle for the apprenticeship phase, and a process that loosely follows 3 steps. The principle is simple and must be engraved deeply in your mind. The goal of an apprenticeship is not money, a good position, a title, or a diploma, but rather the transformation of your mind and character. The first transformation on the way to
Damn, what time's the Dodger game?
You enter a career as an outsider. You are naive and full of misconceptions.
We locking in for the soccer game though at 6, boys. Argentina versus Ecuador.
Your knowledge of the world is subjective, based on emotions, insecurities, and limited experience. Slowly, you will ground yourself in reality, in the objective world represented by the knowledge and skills that make people successful in it. You will learn how to work with others and handle criticism. In the process, you will transform yourself from
handling criticism is important.
Into someone who is disciplined and focused, with a mind that can handle complexity. In the end, you will master yourself and all of your weaknesses. This has a simple consequence. You must choose places of work and positions that offer the greatest possibilities for learning. Practical knowledge is the ultimate commodity and is what will pay you dividends for decades to come. Far more than
wow, dude, I straight dodged that. What the hell?
Some seemingly lucrative position that offers fewer learning opportunities. This means that you move toward challenges that will toughen and improve you, where you will get the most objective feedback on your performance and progress.
I'm gonna counter the shit out of you, bro.
Apprenticeships that seem easy and comfortable. In this sense, you must see yourself as following in the footsteps of Charles Darwin. You are finally on your own, on a voyage
Charles Darwin.
your own future. It is the time of youth and adventure, of exploring the world with an open mind and spirit. In fact,
getting drained by Asian baddies.
Your career path later in life, you reconnect with that youthful, adventurous part of yourself. Darwin could have played it safe, collecting what was necessary.
It's part of the adventure, right?
On board, studying instead of actively exploring. In that case, he would not have become an illustrious scientist, but just another collector. He constantly looked for challenges, pushing himself past his comfort zone.
Saltine's in his Darwin era, dude.
Progress. You must adopt such a spirit and see your apprenticeship as a kind of journey in which you will transform yourself.
We could also say Bud Swayze's in his Darwin era.
The work world. The apprenticeship phase. The 3 steps or modes. With the principle outlined above guiding you in your choices, you must think of 3 essential steps in your apprenticeship, each one overlapping the other. These steps are deep observation.
You ain't gonna eat me, bro.
Mode, skills, acquisition, the practice mode, and experimentation. The active mode, Keep in mind that an apprenticeship can come in many different forms. It can happen at one place over several years, or it can consist of several different positions in different places. Step 1. Deep observation, the passive mode. When you enter a career or new environment, you move into a world with its own rules, procedures, and social dynamics. For decades or even centuries, people have compiled knowledge of how to get things done in a particular field, each generation improving on the past. In addition, every workplace has its own conventions, rules of behavior, and work standard. There are also all kinds of power relationships that exist between individuals. All of this represents a reality that transcends your individual needs and desires. And so your task upon entering this world is to observe and absorb its reality as deeply as possible. The greatest mistake you can make in the initial months of your apprenticeship is to imagine that you have to get attention, impress people, and prove yourself. These thoughts will dominate your mind and close it off from the reality around you. Any positive attention you receive is deceptive. It is not based on your skills or anything real, and it will turn against you. Instead, you will want to acknowledge the reality and submit to it, muting your colors and keeping in the background as much as possible, remaining passive and giving yourself the space to observe. You will also want to drop any preconceptions you might have about this world you're entering. If you impress people in these first months, it should be because of the seriousness of your desire to learn, not because you're trying to rise to the top before you are ready. You will be observing two essential realities in this new world. First, you will observe the rules and procedures that govern success in this environment. In other words, this is how we do things here. Some of these rules will be communicated to you directly, generally the ones that are superficial and largely a matter of common sense. You must pay attention to these and observe them. But what is of more interest are the rules that are unstated and are part of the underlying work culture. These concern style and values that are considered important. They're often a reflection of the character of the man or woman on top. You can observe such rules by looking at those who are on their way up in the hierarchy, who have a golden touch. More tellingly, you can observe those who are more awkward, who have been chastised for particular mistakes or even been fired. Such examples serve as negative tripwires. Do things this way and you will suffer. The second reality you will observe is the power relationships that exist within the group. Who has real control? Through whom do all communications flow? Who is on the rise and who is on the decline? These procedural and political rules may be dysfunctional or counterproductive, but your job is not to moralize about this or complain, but merely to understand them, to get a complete lay of the land. Every task you're given, no matter how menial, offers opportunities to observe this world at work. No detail about the people within it is too trivial. Everything you see or hear is a sign for you to decode. Over time, you will begin to see and understand more of the reality that eluded you at first. As you amass more information about the rules and power dynamics of your new environment, you can begin to analyze why they exist and how they relate to larger trends in the field. You move from observation to analysis, honing your reasoning skills, but only after months of careful attention. Understand, there are several critical reasons why you must follow this step. First, knowing your environment inside and out will help you in navigating it and avoiding costly mistakes. You are like a hunter. Your knowledge of every detail of the forest and of the ecosystem as a whole will give you many more options for survival and success. Second, the ability to observe any unfamiliar environment will become a critical lifelong skill. You will develop the habit of stilling your ego and looking outward.
All right, Gigas. Let's watch a few videos, huh? Not like us music videos out? Damn. On July 4th? Now, you know what? We're just gonna end this with a bang. Damn, new Gavin Rex coming. Holy shit. Yes, sir. What city is that, dude? Little bit of Rex. P.
It's been pretty dark lately, like I'm dying slowly. But I gotta pick myself up. I think I need to
That
get
fucking
out.
Camry, dude. That Camry goes hard.
Get out, I think I've been here way too long. I think I need to get out. Get out, yeah. I'm going out tonight and I hang with my crew under the city lights. I'm going out tonight 'cause I've been feeling blue and I've been so tired. Just gonna keep on dancing.
Fuck yeah.
We end up going downtown. I am feeling down no more. 'Cause I finally found
The lounging
what I've been
on a rooftop scene.
Knew I had to pick myself up. I knew I need to get out. Get out. Get out. I knew I've been there way too long. I knew I need to get out. Get out, yeah. I'm going out tonight and I hang with my crew under the city lights.
Which one of you fuckers put trash can emojis on this? That's foul. This deserves P emojis. My hero. America's last hope. Our hero. Our hero. Imagine how many audiobooks this guy's ripped. What city is that, bro? All right, Gigas. I'm going to go to Barnes & Noble and try to find me a copy of 48 Laws of Trovo. Okay? I heard it's in paperback, so I will go find it. Peace out, Gigas. Happy 4th of July. Keep pushing P.